in life, that's life. No one's going to give you the secret guide to be successful. You got to go out there and do it and try for yourself, because whatever I do, if I give my business plan to somebody else, it's probably not going to work for them because they're different people, right? Absolutely. So it's all about just going there, trying it, and literally failing.
What's going on, guys? Happy to have you back. I'm Chris, owner of Swamp Rabbit Moving, and I got my co-host Ray Mack with Damien Hall Group. Today we got a special guest, Altaf with Upstate Shower Glass and Door. Altaf, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Appreciate you guys having me on here today.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming, man. So you're local to the area, right?
I am. I was born and raised in Spartanburg. Was there for about 18 years. Moved to Charlotte. Worked for Firestone for a few years, and found my way back home to Spartanburg.
Nice. Cool. What'd you do at Firestone?
I ran a store. I was a store manager.
Okay.
They put me in like a manager trainee program. I was there for about 5-6 years. It was a 5-year program. About 2.5 years, I had a store. I had the Rock Hill store.
Cool.
But then realized I was just a number at a corporation, so found my way back home.
Nice. What'd you do when you got back home? Is that when you started Upstate Shower Glass and Door?
No, actually, when I left Firestone, leaving a big corporation like that, I was lost, man. I didn't know where I wanted to do, where I belonged. I was trying to really find my purpose in life.
Yeah. So
I called my dad up. My dad and uncle and them, they're very humble people. They'll never say they need anything or never ask anybody for anything. But I could tell, just having conversations with them, like their business, they own Kapasi Glass.
Yep.
Their business was extremely busy, and I could tell they needed the help, and they would have never asked me for it. So I was like, do you guys want me to come through and work for you guys? He was like, yeah. So I did that for about 4 or 5 years. And then when I was working them, they mainly do commercial stuff, like higher end,
big windows.
Yeah, big windows for shopping centers, gas stations, stuff like that. So when I was working for them, I was doing some stuff on the side and realized, man, I really love being in the residential sector. So I was like, what can I do to not compete with them, but do something different? And they don't touch shower door glasses. So I was like, let me start with doing this, and then let me see how that goes.
Smart.
So,
that's awesome, man. So growing up, did your dad own Kapasi? When did Kapasi Glass start?
Yeah, Kapasi started back. My grandfather actually started it back in 1975.
Wow.
So it's been going on since then, and they got into the commercial sector early 80s.
Nice.
So, yeah.
How was it growing up? And so growing up in like an entrepreneur home where like your dad owned a business and stuff, did you kind of feel pulled that way?
No. Good thing about my parents, that I've always told my friends, my parents aren't as strict as most Indian parents. Like my parents are like laid back, relaxed. They're a great time. So they never really asked us to do anything. They just kind of like guided us and let us do what we wanted in life. And I just kind of found my way into it. I've always been a business guy. I love numbers. So, I would work there during the summertime, and I learned how to cut glass when I was like 15 years old.
That's nice.
So, yeah.
So growing up, you were working in the business, in the family business.
Oh yeah. In the summertime. Yeah. That was my summer job.
Do you ever sit back and pull key things that kind of helped you in your business venture that you got from your childhood?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. It's crazy to see how business was back then and to how things run now.
Yeah.
Nobody even 10, 15 years ago, if you try to run a business like that nowadays, you're not going to survive. Right?
Pages are no longer alive.
Exactly. So it's really fun to watch how things used to be and now how things are now. And that was one of my favorite parts about working for the family business. Right? It was like trying to figure out what they did that didn't work.
Yeah.
And so I would ask my uncle and my dad so many questions. I know at times I was, they were getting annoyed of it, right?
Yeah.
But I wanted to know because I wanted to know how they got better and what they did in their career paths that got them to here where they're at right now. So I would always ask those questions everybody was scared to ask, and I feel like that's very, very big as entrepreneurs to figure out what and how people failed and why, so you don't make those same mistakes and you could grow from those.
Yeah. I love it, man. So when you decided to start Upstate Shower Glass and Door, what'd that look like? Did you have to get funded? Did you have to get a loan? Did you have to get funded? Did you have a little bit of money saved up?
Yeah, so I was a little bit fortunate. I had a little bit of money saved up, so I bought a van and then just started, working from there. Luckily, the way the construction field works, you could usually have some money in the beginning to fund it when you start a job. So that really helped me.
Taking deposits.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting off the ground is pretty easy when you can get going.
Exactly.
I got to give it to you. I think it's pretty humbling to know that, because even though that your family name is so big in the glass mart, you didn't take that and use that to try and build yourself.
You didn't brand around.
Yeah,
that.
you didn't say Kapasi's, shower glass. Yeah, you made your own, which was pretty cool. And I've learned that with I always see a successful entrepreneur that comes from a family background business is that they always go out on their own. Like Cameron, he started as kind of his own thing, came back to it, and then said how can I help my family grow? And I think that's really cool and really humbling to see how you've grown that from just kind of nothing. You had the experience, but you didn't say help me figure it out and I'll do it on my own. I'll figure it out. And, that's pretty smart.
That was one of the main reasons I did it because growing up, my dad and uncle are very popular in Spartanburg, right? You can't go anywhere in Spartanburg without them knowing them, right? So I wanted to start something that obviously, like I said, not to compete with them, but I didn't want to live off their name, right? Sure. They've done that and built their name well. My job is just to protect the last name and the glass, industry of a different sector. It is what I want to build and grow. So
nice.
That was the whole point behind all this.
Yeah, nice. Shower glass store is awesome business, especially if it's perfectly niched. You can just go in and out, getting those particular jobs and whatnot. So
the custom stuff, I love it, man. It's so much. It looks so much nicer. It's a cleaner finish than some of the stuff you get at Lowe's and Home Depot. Yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, but anything custom, you're gonna be paying a little bit more extra than these these inserts that you could get at Lowe's or Home Depot.
Well, there's nothing worse than getting a $10,000 shower and a $300 glass door from Home Depot.
Exactly.
Why did you do that?
It's literally the finishing point of your bathroom, right?
Yeah,
so that's the first thing you're gonna notice when you walk in your bathroom is the glass work.
Yeah, the glass.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I would say so for sure. So how long has Upstate Shower Glass and Door been in business?
It's been a business for a year and a half now.
A year and a half? Nice. Yep. Fairly new. So tell me some roadblocks you've had, especially in the beginning. What did you have to overcome?
So me, I'm kind of a lot to myself. People think I'm an outgoing type of guy. It took a lot for me to come out there and start networking. Luckily the guy Josh, who does my Thrive stuff, he's the one that actually got me into the networking scene. I went to a couple of his events and then I realized, man, in order for people to do business with you, they got to know you, right? Yeah. So getting my brand out there was the hardest part, and me realizing I have a specialty product, right? I could go into a room and meet 1,000 people. Chances are none of them are going to need a shower glass at that moment, right? It's something they're going to need something in the future when they're redoing a bathroom or something like that. And it's something people do once in a lifetime,
it's
right?
Long-term.
Exactly. So those relationships are the most important to me, is building those, knowing that they could trust me no matter what happens.
Yeah, that's smart. I think that's always been a hard thing, doing renovations. I always saw that that one client's probably only going to be your one client one time. You might not ever hear from them again, because once you renovate a house, they're not going to do that again for 30 or 50 years. So I always thought it was kind of okay, but you still have to build that reputation and build that mindset so they can refer them other places and use your name. And it's building that relationship is huge. And networking, some people look down on, but I think if nobody knows you, then how do you get your name out there? Networking is the best start to that.
It's the best bang for your buck. So unless you're starting out with bukus of money, I feel like it's super vital that you get out there and network and shake hands, because it's free advertising, and essentially you're building, sales reps for your brand that don't even work for you. Essentially. So I think it's crucial, especially, like I said, not starting out with a lot of money. Networking is huge. Shout out to Liberty Networking and Greenville Networking Group.
Yeah, especially the cheaper ones like that, where if you can offer that, where it's not $1,000 like a B&I, where that's kind of tough to get in. But if you can do a $50 or a $200 one, and jump in from the beginning, and 30 people are in this group now, those are all 30 people representing your company now too. So
exactly. And I really like how you said it takes time. It's not like an instant. Networking is not instant referrals the day you go. It's you're building a relationship with somebody, and over time you will start to get the trickle effect of referrals. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it takes time, right? So I have a project manager that's making these cold calls to these contractors, and I tell them, none of this stuff is going to be next day guaranteed. Sure. It's going to be 6 to 8 months down the road before these people actually start trusting you or want to start using you, right? So that's where I'm going right now, building my relationships and doing that. And you made a good point, shaking somebody's hand. Back when my grandfather started Kapasi Glass, he started it by a handshake.
That's all it was,
a handshake, and that's how people did business back in the day, right? Yeah. And it's unfortunate, because that's what I try to do. Anytime somebody agrees to do business with me or whatever, I try to shake their hand and let them know that they could trust me, and I'm not just some guy just trying to take their money.
Yeah.
And on the other end of it too is on the back end of it, after I finish a job, a couple weeks later, I like to call a customer and check on them.
Yeah.
I found out a lot of people are actually scared to call back and ask for warranty work. You know, they think, I guess, contractors aren't going to show up or do something like that. And I'm like, that's not me. You know, like, yeah, I did your bathroom, but, you know, I want to see in the years to come and see if you're enjoying it, see if it was worth the investment, and see if there's any, you know, the littlest thing can make the biggest difference.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Puts you on the top of their mind again.
Exactly.
I listened to a podcast one time, and that is like my biggest selling point now is like that warranty work. That is the biggest way that you can get business again, because you call back, say, hey, is there anything that I can do? They might have a small touch up. If you don't argue with it about like, oh, what's warrantable, what's not, just take care of it. Well, now you're back in their house. They're going to say, one, that they can trust you because you came back to do that. But then now you're actually in their face again and saying like, oh, you know what? I got this other shower we're going to be doing. Can you give me a price on that? Like that has been our biggest like reoccurring business is warranty work.
Oh yeah.
Calling back.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like, you know, this, I could use this as a prime example. It was an unfortunate event, but like, so I had when I first started, I did a small little shower for a bathroom, and for some reason the glass like had a scratch on it from the factory. So my supplier went ahead and warranted and gave me a new one. Well, when I was taking that glass out, you know, I don't know what it hit or something like that. You got to be very careful with glass. You can't touch tile. It can't touch metal. You know, it can only touch like
shatters.
wood. Yeah, it'll shatter. So like my guy was taking it out and he picked it up to turn, and I don't know what happened. Like the glass was, it was bowed. That's what it was. It wasn't scratched. The glass was bowed. So I had a suction cup, I think where the bow part was. So he picked it up and turns to move it, and the thing explodes in his hand.
Yeah. Crap.
And it was a time slot where we were trying to get in there quick because the customer literally was there during her lunch break so we could finish up. And it just, you know, we had to clean up. And glass, when it explodes, man, it goes everywhere. Yeah. I mean, it went through the bathroom all the way into the living room.
Yeah.
So we, you know, obviously had to quickly clean it up. And thankfully, the customer trusted me enough to leave me in their house. But, you know, I took care of it, didn't complain about it. You know, the house was definitely cleaner than what it was before I walked in there. But now they just called me a couple weeks ago, and they have a couple other bathrooms that they wanted me to redo. I guess they have 3 bathrooms in this bathroom, and 2 of the bathrooms they want to demo and create into one.
Nice.
But since I took care of them on that situation, I think that's what really helped me, you know, create a better relationship with them instead of me just saying, sorry, this mess is here, you guys clean it up or whatever. You know what I mean?
I think I've said it before on another podcast, but like typically when you mess up and you make it right, like that's where you usually find your best referrals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Because now they know you operate with integrity. So like somebody that we go and we just do an amazing job, nothing's wrong, just perfect. And then there's another job where like we, you know, scratch a piece of furniture or whatever, and we fix it and make it right. That customer that we scratched the furniture for is probably more likely to refer us to their neighbors and their friends over the one we did the perfect job for. So I think that's super important.
Absolutely. I think that's always, I mean, we've definitely said that before, but like that definitely sets aside, especially contractors, from what I call jackasses. I mean, if you can call back and you can go and take care of it if something goes wrong, because there's no way in any business, there's no way something's not going to go wrong. Yeah. Something happens. Glass, you turn, it breaks. What are you going to do? If you don't leave and disappear and you take care of it, then that just shows your integrity to the business and your name as well. So definitely. I think that's the biggest selling point for most businesses, is that they know that they can call somebody that's not going to just take their money and run.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tell me what sets you apart from a different shower glass and door company.
I do a lot of this work myself. Yeah. You know, I started by doing just showers, but I do the full bathroom remodels, right? So the main reason I started getting into the full bathroom remodels is because, you know, there's a lot of things that contractors don't see or don't know that a glass guy needs. Yeah. You know, I've been in the commercial glass industry for a long, long time, and one thing I've realized is literally no contractor thinks about the glass guy. They don't think about what we need to be able to anchor our frames or put our glass walls to. Like, for example, I need a stud against my wall, right? Yeah. Otherwise, the door is going to work its way out because it swings both ways, right? So that's the main reason I started doing that. And, you know, I think one thing that sets me apart, especially in the glass industry, is knowledge. You know, I grew up in it. I've been around glass my entire life. It's something I'm extremely passionate about. You know, I joke with a lot of people that, you know, we could possibly cut ourselves out of the womb with a glass cutter, you know, because it's just named in our blood, man. It's just one of those things that I literally never thought I would to be in the glass industry when growing up, ever, you know. And then I left and came back, and it just makes sense. And I feel like I'm finally at where I belong in my life, work wise at least.
That's awesome. So you say you do all the work yourself. Do you do like so you do the whole remodel front to back yourself? Is that what you were saying?
No, I mean, I have a team that does, you know, like the plumbing, the tile work and stuff. But yeah, the demo work I usually do it by myself, and the installation I usually do it myself. Now I do have guys that help me, and I have a team that helps me.
But you're there.
But I'm there all the time. So
that's awesome. Where do you see Upstate Shower Glass and Door going? What does it look like?
We'll see. That's the point. That's the part right now I'm trying to figure out. I have goals, obviously, and I know kind of where I want to take it. But as the time goes and as I get more and more into it, different thoughts and different things are coming out of it. So I think this year I'm really going to focus on growing it and then getting a plan from the back end of it. And then we'll see where next year takes us, and we'll go from there.
What are some struggles you're having with like trying to grow that? I mean, one I would assume is trying to find a team to do some of the installations and take that off of you.
Exactly. That's one thing that I've always preached about, and same thing with my family too. Is like in R.D. Anderson and these schools that people know that they ain't gonna go to college to, right? They teach you welding, they teach you carpentry, they teach you how to do hair, right? But literally, not one class teaches you about glass. So when people are ready for that stage in their life, they don't even think about working for a glass company, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest things that we have to do as glaziers is educate people and let them know, hey, look, it's glass. It's going to break just like anything else, right? If you cut a little hole in one of your plumbing lines and you install and you don't see it, it's going to leak, right? The same thing with glass. If you ding it a little bit, it's going to break. It is what it is. It's something you just can't hold against yourself. You just got to keep going and keep, and move
Fix
on.
it, make it right. Yeah.
So I think that's what's going to be the biggest struggle. If that is the biggest struggle right now is finding somebody that is passionate about glass or wants to learn about glass, to do windows, to do this stuff. Because I think the next 10, 15 years, if we don't see a change in people that want to do glazing, it's going to be a rough industry to work
That's
in.
a good point, because actually one of my best friends is in the Glazier Union in New York, and like his dad was in it. So that's the only reason he got into it. So it is like a kind of like, it's just a generational thing, because I've never met somebody that's like, oh, I've never done this before, but I want to be a glass hanger. It's like you don't just meet somebody that like does that.
Exactly.
You might even find that with a carpenter or something else. But yeah, I mean, I've never met somebody that just come out of the womb and be like, yeah, I want to do glass.
Yeah.
So that's tough. I mean, and I think that's a good point, is trying to educate. Why is it a good business? Why is it a good career? Why can you do this for a living and make good money out of it? And that will start to build that trend of people that are just like, hey, I want to do that for a living.
Oh yeah,
That's cool.
And the good thing about my dad's business, they got about 6 crews that have been with them since they opened, basically. They've seen me in diapers, right? Wow. So if a group of 20, 30, 40 guys have been doing it for so long, right? People got to understand it's not that hard. Right, all you gotta do is literally know how to pick up glass, which is all that can be taught on the field. Yeah. It's super easy to pick up a piece of glass. I mean, I could pick up a 200-pound piece of glass by myself and no help. It's just, and if I'm 160 pounds soaking wet, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like, it's just people need to be educated about it and let them know it's not as hard. It's one of the easiest jobs, in my opinion, in the construction field. It's better than roofing. Let's be honest. You don't want to be at a roof all day,
especially in South Carolina.
Plumbing, water, it's tough.
That's nasty,
right?
Dangerous and disgusting. Yeah.
Exactly. Electricity could shock you, right?
Yeah, burn a house down.
So it's in terms from like different trades and stuff in construction, I think it's one of the most simple ones to do. So,
and one of the better paying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the glass unions and non-unions in South Carolina, they're some of the bigger companies.
Yep.
Kapasi Glass. I mean, that's huge. Your parents, that's a big company now. I've seen them in Myrtle Beach the other day. I was like, holy crap! I didn't realize they're that big. So that's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
When you first started out in business, what were you doing to drive leads? How were you driving leads if it took you a minute to kind of get into networking?
I was just basically going word of mouth. It didn't really take me long to get into networking. Luckily, Josh was pushing me. He helped me create my website. So once I started my website, he's like, hey, you need to come to this. People need to know about you. You know what I mean? It's going to be a lot easier. And then trying to figure out the whole Google stuff. How do you get on the front page and this and that, right? Yeah. So like figuring out all that stuff. Luckily, I got connected with the right people at the right time when I started my business. And I think that's why I'm where I'm at right now so early. Early on in my business field, I actually showed profit my first year in business. So a lot of businesses can't do that.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is tough. I feel like a lot of businesses, it takes a year or two to really start seeing like some profit. Luckily, we were able to be profitable. We were actually more profitable our first year in terms of percentage than we were our second year. But I think all that is to do with like overhead and being an operator owner, where you're not paying big salaries for somebody to do a job that you're doing. So
that's tough.
That's definitely a good strategy to have.
Yeah. Well, real estate first year has been terrible. So I've lost like 3 good deals and haven't made $1, and all I'm doing is just putting money out. And I'm like, man, it's getting exhausted. Yeah. It's one of those like snowball. Once it starts rolling, it'll roll. But it's just to get that first pack together that I have to get done. So
and that's the thing about business. That a lot of people, especially young entrepreneurs, don't understand is to be patient. Right? You're not gonna start a business and become a millionaire overnight.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to take time. Like I know for a fact, like I told myself, a month ago, like I'm not going to profit as well as next year because I'm going to grow.
Yeah.
In order to make money, you have to spend money. Right. That's one of the biggest things that entrepreneurship people don't realize. They're too scared. Right. But think about all these great people. Elon Musk. How many times did he fail?
Yeah.
How many times did Donald Trump go into bankruptcy?
Yeah.
Right. In life, that's life. No one's going to give you the secret guide to be successful. You got to go out there and do it and try for yourself, because whatever I do, if I give my business plan to somebody else, it's probably not going to work for them because they're different people.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So it's all about just going there, trying it, and literally failing. Like I wake up every day ready to fail, because I know once I fail, that's going to be the lesson I learned that I was never taught in school.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing about it.
Absolutely.
I think that is the key to entrepreneurship and success, is like that patience, that just be able to take it for what it is at that moment, move past it, and then getting through that hurdle. I think that's always been a big factor for me personally too. It's just like, it's going to go wrong. Life sucks sometimes, but if you continue to push forward and you get up and you do what needs to be done and you keep moving, I think that's when everything does kind of come together, and then like kind of has its way of working itself out, or like something else will come of it, or it'll all be positive in the end. So I've had a lot of struggles with that in my early life. So now, like a little bit older and a little bit more mature, I've learned that like patience is key for sure.
And you brought up a good point, that word positive. One thing I've realized now, being in being a business owner, there's a lot of things that is going to go bad. And you got to know that. And you got to understand that from the beginning, right? But I've lined myself up, or starting to completely just put positive people in my life. There cannot be any negativity you're surrounded by, because the bad things that happen to you, if you go around and talk to somebody, your friend, about it, and they are negative about the situation, that's not going to make anything better. That's not going to that's not going to change your mindset. That's not going to change your thought process. That's not going to change anything to get you in the right direction.
It's just going to grow your discouragement and what, just like your sense of failure, and then it's just going to snowball into going that route.
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing. I've always said that from like the beginning. I've had friends that I lived with that would always freak out about the littlest things, and I always said, like, is anybody dying? No. Is anybody hurt? No. Okay, so it's gonna be all right. Like, we're gonna make it through this. And as long as like you really find that mentality, that just helps drive everything else. Like if you can stay positive, keep positive people in your life and positive like examples, that's just the way to be 100%.
Exactly.
Like,
that's the best thing about entrepreneurship. That it's not for everyone. It's one of those things. It's literally not just from everyone, but being able to realize what's right and wrong, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're doing something this way, you got to admit to your wrongs, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of being a business owner is being okay with that.
Well, it's
Being okay with
constantly
wrong.
evolving.
Yeah.
Constantly involving yourself, because things change. I mean, Google, for example, like their algorithm changes all the freaking time. So
just
now,
the recent one's terrible. I mean,
now how your SEO rank isn't how it was yesterday. So now it's just always evolving and always learning and always hungry to know more. I think it's huge.
Oh, yeah.
And then consistency. And I love where you went with not being afraid to fail, like looking forward to fail. I look forward to fail all the time. Like I actually was having a conversation about it last night. They were like, well, what happens if you fail? Well, I guess I'll go back to where I was before I fell and try again. Like I'll file bankruptcy, and now knowing what I know now, like I know I could get a good sales job,
yeah, sure.
making 6 figures, and I'd save up money, and then I'd start my next entrepreneur journey. I don't think we would, but I'm just saying, like, that fear. Like, I want to make calculated decisions, but I don't want my decisions be based off fear.
Yeah, exactly.
No emotion. Yeah, if you can kind of limit that, that's definitely beneficial.
Definitely. But did you really fail though, right? So like you just said, like, if I fail, I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing before, but not necessarily. You're going back to doing what you're doing better than what you were before, right?
Smarter,
so
with
smarter,
more knowledge.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you actually fail? I think
so.
Yeah. So like I think that's what people need to realize more, is to take the negativity out of the situation. How can you be positive about what happened? Because that's why you're there, right? You're there to take on things that most people can't.
It's tough. It's like I read a good book that kind of put that into perspective. It was called The Alchemist, and it's like about like your personal journey. And it's like, yeah, you might be going down this road and you find yourself in this particular moment, and that moment might suck ass, but it's going to get you to the next moment. And like you like kind of have to go through that, and it's literally like just the way it's supposed to be. And it's like to give you that lesson so that you have that knowledge or that skill or just that patience to go forward on the next level. So like you might might fail now because it's getting you prepared for that next step. And that next step might just have this moment that's going to, you're going to need to be like level headed for that. In this current state, you're not. So like, if you don't learn it, you're never going to get there. So it's like something setting you up for, to be something better.
All right, now we're going to jump into the hot seat questions with Altaf. You ready to get your ass on fire?
Let's do it.
Tell me about your worst experience in business.
Worst experience in business. Ooh. It was probably when I first started installing. I went to a customer's house and did an install, and man, I messed it up. I completely butchered it, and I was so embarrassed. Like, it was the most embarrassing thing for me. I broke a tile. Like, the subway tile is one of the toughest. Like, it's the softest tile, but it's one of the toughest to hang on because it is literally so soft. Once you put weight on it, it's gonna crack it. And this particular person was an engineer, so the detail was everything to them, right?
Yeah.
And it happened, and I told them, obviously, I'm not just gonna let it go, right? But once I told them, and it was just embarrassing just to be there. I mean, they just made me feel like I was like literally nothing. I didn't matter in life. I was like, listen, things happen. I could get it fixed. It's no problem. It's two tile. The cost is, it's just a small little cost, right?
Yeah.
To replace two tile. And then he was just like, yeah, I don't want you back in my house again. I was
That's
like,
tough.
wow, okay. I was like, that's no problem. And, in that situation, again, it was a terrible, most embarrassing situation, but it helped me because now it has helped me find some other guys to help me. Now I have another crew to help me install because of that situation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's smart.
But at that time, man, it broke me, man. It literally, I thought I was going to be done because it's newly business, made a small mistake that turned out to be just a terrible situation. And but it was all fortunate. It all worked out, and customers shook my hand afterwards. So it worked out in the end. But at the time, man, it was rough.
Tough, especially when you're facing the brand. Like, there's a lot of times I lose sleep over like a bad Google review or whatever.
Yeah, Google has a thing out for me. I've got like 20 reviews that have not been posted that are all good, and then I get the bad ones posted, and I'm like, man, what the hell? So you mentioned you do bathroom remodels and stuff too. Does that hurt your business in a way for the shower doors? Because you're kind of competing a little.
Not that I've noticed it. I don't really take on too many bathroom jobs. I only try to take on 2 or 3 a month. Nothing too serious. I want to focus mainly on the showers, and the main reason I do the bathroom remodels is to cover the void in between. And I really enjoy it, man. Especially the demo work, seeing what people used to use to how to build things, and now how the things are today.
Yeah.
It's just really fun and fascinating for me. So like, I don't want to completely leave the bathroom, but I also don't want to just stick to demo because we have a lot of people that do demo work. So I don't want to take that away from them. So I'm still in that bind of trying to figure out where I belong. But mainly I'm doing it just to cover the voids for the glass work.
Sure.
Yeah.
In between. So
yeah, because glass installs a couple hours, right? So,
yeah, I could probably do 3-4 glass installs a day.
Yeah,
so.
It's quick and easy. The other thing I was going to say, so you've done work for me. It was great. I had my glass guy in Myrtle Beach was booked up for 3 months or whatever. So the one thing that did come about was the supplier sent you the wrong piece. How could you use that lesson as like a learning curve and change it moving forward so that it doesn't really upset your customer or something in the end?
And that's a tough spot because a lot of people are scared if they tell the customer it's 2 to 3 weeks on a glass work. And for example, right now, black matte hardware is extremely popular. So obviously it's one of the most popular that goes out of stock the quickest, right? So at the time when I order it, it may be 2 to 3 weeks. But by the time my order comes, they may have gotten 30 orders. So by the time they get to actually stocking my order and sending it over, they may be already out of hardware. So it's a fine line. I try to tell people up front, it's 2 to 3 weeks on the glass work. Depends on what type of hardware finish you get. I won't know until like a day or two before, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So trying to tell a customer the truth without losing their business, and I think that's what a lot of people are scared about, is telling them the truth and losing their business, right? It is what it is. Like, I've been in the glass industry for such a long time, so as my family business, I get the glass from the same suppliers they've been using for decades. So it's no different than anybody else in South Carolina that, that does it differently than I do. And if somebody tells you they could get hardware parts quicker than I can, that's just a lie. It's just not true. We all get the same, the same we're on the same timeline. You know?
Setting that expectation. I'm sure just trying to make
it's
it
tough.
Yeah, I'm sure that's tough.
And for most homeowners, you know, that's why a lot of contractors don't include the glass work in their price, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't order my glass until the tile work's completely done. So that's 2 to 3 weeks after everything's finished, you know, before my glass even comes in. And at that point, customers are just like, man, I want to get this done. I want to get this done. I want to get this done. Because again, contractors don't think about the glass guy. Contractors tell them, hey, look, we could get this done for you in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? But they don't tell about the glass guy. So when I come in there, they already are like, all right, cool. You have all this stuff in stock. You can just do it next day. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I've had that. It's definitely hard to explain. Like, yeah, we're all done except for now. The glass is just coming now to get measured. So it's another 3 weeks after that. So it's like, how do you kind of set that up? Trying to set that expectation in the beginning, though, helps. And I've learned that now recently. It's just like making sure, one, that my cost on the glass is coming when the glass is done, but that doesn't affect anything else. That's a tough thing. But then trying to explain to them, like, that's 2 or 3 weeks in a perfect world. That 3 weeks might turn into 5. It just depends. So
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think setting expectations is huge.
Yeah.
It is, definitely.
Cool. So if people are looking for Upstate Shower Glass and Door, how do they find you, my man?
They could go to upstateshowerdoorandglass.com. They could call or text me at 864-721-3082. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty much, you know, any social media you could find me in. So
cool.
Nice, man. Well, we appreciate you having you on, and we appreciate your valuable feedback. And
yeah, thanks for coming out.
Appreciate you guys having me, man. You guys are
Let's
good
crush
people.
2023.
Yes, sir. You guys are great people, and honored to be with you guys.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
yeah.